Welcome, welcome, folks. Today is Tuesday, August the 26th, 2025, and this is Hurricane Hub Live. I'm Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandajis, and today on the show, kind of quiet out there in the basin, what we like to see just 2 weeks out from the peak of the season. But there's one named storm. You'll see it right here. Let's go HHL tonight. Fernand holding on for dear life. Yeah, it's still out there. It's a low-grade tropical storm in the North Atlantic, not affecting anybody. And meanwhile, the rest of the Atlantic basin has gone quiet, which is unusual. Although, I mean, it's not terribly unusual. Last year, same kind of thing happened. As we got in late August, early September, things were quiet. And then, you know how the rest of the season went. It was very, very active. So in regard to tropical activity and climatology, usually we see a noticeable increase in activity throughout August. And we of course had Aaron, that was the main player so far this season as a Category 5 major hurricane. And we get closer to the peak of the season, September the 10th, just about 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks out now from the climatological peak of the season. Now, I always find this interesting, the stats, percentage of named storms that occur in each month of the 6-month hurricane season. Of course, you got June and July, not many. Same with November. But you got the 3 months in between those, August, September, October, that you see the majority of activity at 27% coming out in August. And then we get to September, and it's over a third of all named storms happen in September. Of course, that's the environmental factors, the warmest ocean temperatures, all the factors, all the ingredients are in place to bake the cake. All you got to do is actually bake the cake. So we'll see if we can get some of those African easterly waves out there to seed the fertile environment that will likely be in place as we get through the next 2 weeks or so. But right now, I mean, we've got a storm out there now that's just struggling. It never attained hurricane status as it was originally anticipated to do based on the intensity model guidance, but didn't get there. We're down to 40-mile-per-hour winds, so just barely. As a tropical storm, you need 39-mile-per-hour winds or greater, and it's just a cluster of convection. Bermuda's like way back here behind the little icon there, and it's moving off to the north and east at 12. Expected to be around for another 24 hours maybe before it transitions to a post-tropical system, and that basically just means it loses its tropical characteristics and becomes more reminiscent of what we'd find with a mid-latitude cyclone there in the North Atlantic, maintaining minimal wind gusts of 40 miles per hour. Now into the Caribbean, this is what's left of what originally had some pretty good chances of development. This is Invest 99L. Well, it's no longer tagged that. This is now just an open wave moving west through the Caribbean there. Right now, conditions not all that conducive. We've got a little bit of some wind shear there, and overall just not the best, most ideal environmental conditions for it to develop. But always something to watch as you get a seed moving into a more fertile environment, maybe in the southern Gulf. We could see that maybe come together. And we've got another pretty robust African easterly wave here just about to emerge off the coast of Africa. It'll likely head over the Cabo Verde Islands and then into a basin that there's just a lot of sinking motion. So that is not conducive for tropical development. And we're in an unfavorable phase of the Madden-Julian oscillation. The more favorable phase has transited into the eastern Pacific, which we'll see in a second is actually starting to light up once again after that, too, going through a pretty dormant period while we had more activity in the Atlantic basin. It's usually vice versa. When one basin is active, the other is not. And when the East Pac is active, we usually see an increase in wind shear here from almost the outflow from those storms, kind of imparting a little more wind shear on the basin, and especially in the Caribbean and the Southwest Atlantic. So we've got no tropical formation that's anticipated in the Atlantic basin for at least the next 7 days. Now, past that, Climate Prediction Center puts out outlooks. This goes through just after Labor Day through the first full week of September. Starts to highlight the main development region, maybe signaling coming back to life. This large area here of orange, low, 20% chance of maybe some tropical development there. Jump out to the peak of the season, though. We see this jump to moderate 40% risk of something developing there, and also indicating here in the Western Caribbean, Southern Gulf, maybe something with a Central American gyre getting going here. Sometimes those can pinch off some spin and eject it out into the Gulf or into the Western Caribbean. So maybe that'd be some area to watch as well. Maybe some close to home development here by the middle of September. And we'll probably be rocking and rolling by the time we reach later in the month in September. And meanwhile, here's the Eastern Pacific. 3 separate tropical waves, 2 in yellow that's got less than a 30% chance of developing, and this one moderate here that's got a 40 to 60% chance of developing just south of Hawaii. And we've also got Juliet. That's a tropical storm, the 10th of the eastern Pacific season. Not expected to get much stronger. In fact, it'll be on a weakening trend as it builds off to the north and west there in a cooler sea surface temperatures. Won't have any fuel to maintain its intensity. So again, 10th named storm up next will be Kiko or Lorena, if any of those other three waves do get to going here in the next couple of weeks. Now, coming up after a quick break, folks, it's a big week for hurricane anniversaries. We talked about Harvey yesterday. Today, we're going to go back and look at some of the footage from 20 years ago when Hurricane Katrina made landfall, coming up this Friday, August the 29th. We'll see you right here after a quick break. Welcome back to Hurricane Hub Live. In just days, it will mark 20 years since Hurricane Katrina made landfall in southern Louisiana near New Orleans. It slammed the area, leaving unspeakable death and destruction. Katrina came ashore near Grand Isle, Louisiana on August the 29th, 2005 as a Category 3 storm. The storm packed winds of about 125 miles an hour. Now, the storm surge caused the city's levees to fail, which is a barrier that contains and controls or even diverts water to protect land from flooding. Nearly 1,400 people died during the storm and its aftermath. The government estimates that Katrina caused about $200 billion in damages, making it the costliest in U.S. hurricane history on record. All right, New Orleans is holding a number of remembrances this week to mark this devastating anniversary. Now, as we approach the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, communities in New Orleans are remembering the impacts of the storm. Michael McDaniel from our sister station in New Orleans takes us back 20 years ago.
You can see this very well-defined eye getting closer and closer to southeast Louisiana.
As it kept getting larger, I've never have seen a storm of that magnitude and that size.
It wasn't the levees, it was the wind, the surge, and the silence afterwards.
When you looked at it, it was the entire Gulf of Mexico, and I knew we were in trouble then.
In St. Tammany Parish, communities like Slidell, Pearl River, Lacombe, and Mandeville were blindsided by the force of Hurricane Katrina.
To us, it was another hurricane fixing to hit. We'd be able to handle it. As we found out later, it was a once-in-a-lifetime event that I'd never want to live through again.
Living through it was tough for those who chose to stay and those who had to, like Slidell Police Chief Randy Fandle, who was a sergeant with state police at the time.
It was pretty surreal. I mean, I can remember driving on I-10 and seeing people climb the fences to get on the interstate side looking for some help.
The basics, electricity, water, sewer, were wiped out. Much like the nights that followed, communication was completely dark.
Couldn't communicate phones were all down. We had satellite phones, they didn't work.
Former St. Tammany Parish President Kevin Davis says thankfully a lot of folks took evacuation pleas seriously. For those who stayed, many needed help.
There's quite a few memories there that kind of stick with me about it.
Slidell officer Rodney West Jr. remembers being in a flooded neighborhood trying to save people.
And we were losing flashlight power and everything, and just having to leave from back in that neighborhood in the boat, and you still hear people yelling for help, and you can't get back there because there's too many trees, too many power lines, and it's definitely too dark. There was no light whatsoever.
Like many areas, much of Slidell was underwater.
It was definitely a sight to see if you had to see it. It was just kind of hard to take in at first. Just going in places in a boat right after the storm passed through that I never thought I would ride a boat in.
Wow, it's just amazing to see all this debris that used to be homes and camps.
Infrastructure across the parish was either crippled or lost. More than 40,000 homes were damaged or destroyed.
I saw houses that pine trees just cut them like a piece of cake.
Tons of concrete that made up the twin span bridge no longer stretched across the lake. They fell to the bottom of it.
All the power lines from Covington to here were completely destroyed. I mean, just everywhere you looked, all the red lights, they were all on the ground.
Recovery wasn't easy or fast.
We're going to make it through, and that's what I kept telling people.
It would be a while before FEMA could send help. At the time, there were few local organizations prepared to step in. Initial recovery depended on neighbors helping neighbors.
These are all of the disasters that we have covered.
20 years later, lessons learned have helped change that and so much more.
We didn't have a community foundation situated in this geographic area.
Because of Katrina, the North Shore Community Foundation was established in 2007. It now acts as a lifeline for relief, recovery, and long-term stability in the wake of disasters.
When disaster strikes or any sort of pandemic emergency situation, we have the resources and the capabilities to react quickly.
Foundation President and CEO Leslie Landry says Katrina's lessons run deep. Since its creation, the foundation has pulled in more than $93 million to help communities. More than $1.5 million helped with Katrina recovery in 2008.
There's no one natural disaster that's ever the same, but we've learned so much on how to respond and what to do when a storm is in the Gulf, and be ready to strap our boots on and get to work.
It also meant a new way to work for law enforcement. Chief Vandal says local, state, and federal agencies are much more connected now, and the planning for hurricanes is never just another storm.
As agencies, we really need to work together, and we have started that since Katrina. We don't have the same communication problems that we had back then.
Parish leaders say revised emergency plans, upgraded infrastructure, and improved access to resources have put the parish in a much better place. The Twin Span Bridge was rebuilt and renamed Frank Davis Naturally Nollins Bridge in 2015 after the longtime WWL personality. All that's changed for the better, though, didn't come without immense loss.
We did a ceremony here at the water with flowers and roses that we threw in.
On the one-year anniversary of the storm, community members gathered here on the edge of Lake Pontchartrain to remember the people who died during and after the storm.
I lost a good friend, a good man. He was cutting a tree and it back flipped on him.
Many who evacuated never came back.
I go through some subdivisions now and it breaks my heart when I think about it. Well, that's where Mr. So-and-so lived and we grew up together, and they're no longer here. They moved.
Today, St. Tammany Parish has a growing population. Part of it is because of the sudden spike in new residents who evacuated the South Shore and never returned. Looking back, Davis says he's forever grateful to a community that didn't give up on itself.
I don't know how to put into words. I'm just grateful for the community that we had, that they came together.
Parts of the North Shore will always carry Katrina's scars. They're in broken tree lines and stories passed down. They're also in the quiet resilience of a region that learned you can't just wait around for help. You must be ready to give it. Mike McDaniel, WWL, Louisiana.
After a quick break, tropical trivia. Welcome back to Hurricane Hub Live. Yesterday's trivia question: what date holds the record for the most hurricane landfalls in the United States? September 1st, 16th, August 22nd, or October the 3rd? Correct answer is September the 16th. Yeah, 10 hurricanes, since records have been kept since the 1850s, have made landfall in the U.S. on that date. Some notable storms in the more recent times. Sally in the 2020 season made landfall on September the 16th. Ivan in 2004 and Floyd back in 1999. All right, tonight's trivia question is, August 29th is the anniversary of Katrina. Isaac also made landfall on August the 29th, and so did this other hurricane. Is it Laura, Gert, Ida, or Delta? I'll have the answer for you tomorrow night on HHL. And a reminder, 7 days a week, 8 p.m., or here on 13 News Now Plus, streaming Hurricane Hub Live. We'll see you back tomorrow.